From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark. Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, FSU far exceeded expectations in 2022. Are some of the same variables in play this year? Will Mike Norvell's true value be mentorship to the roster and namely keeping Tommy engaged? And the latest shot of momentum towards the return of some sanity in college sports. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it, take it, tastes great. Says that on the package. Do they lie to you? No, they can't because it's clinically tested and clinically proven. I guess it can't clinically be proven to taste great, but trust me, it does. Sour apple, the tango orange, the blue raspberry, all hit the palate, but you're not drinking this stuff for the refreshing taste. You're drinking it because it's called Vitamin Energy. It gives you vitamins and nutrients and energy, all natural caffeine, steady absorption throughout the day, giving you 7 hours or more of energy throughout the day. Again, one little bottle, not even 2 fluid ounces. How do they pack it all in there and still make it taste good? I don't know. It's probably proprietary. But try it for yourself. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it and take it. Sip the juice, boys and girls. Speaking of boys and girls out there, maybe your neighbor has a student, has a child that's going to Florida State. We've brought it back, y'all. If you're a current Florida State student, which means you've got a fsu.edu email address, you can get a free membership to warchant.com. So not only Wu-Tang for the children, but also warchant.com. Email support@warchant.com from your FSU email address to get started. Full year of access, everybody. It's a $130 value. No credit card required. Again, just email support@warchant.com from your FSU email address to get started today. Was that your idea, Corey? Thanks, man.
It wasn't, and I wonder, now that you say it out loud, what about faculty?
Ooh.
We don't want those freeloaders getting a free subscription just because they have fsu.edu in their email.
That's a good point. I don't know. We'll have to maybe put another layer
Grad
of security.
students, I assume. Yeah, we got like 5 layers of security now instead of 4. And I'm just kidding, folks. Got nothing but love for professors and faculty at all the institutions. But, yeah, we got to differentiate somehow.
How you doing, Corey Clark?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. How are you doing? You doing all right? Did you have a good couple days?
Man, I'm what are we going to do with all this heat, Corey? It feels different. Feels different. It's hitting me a little bit different. I'm getting older. It feels different. It's only May. It's only May. How are we going to get through till August?
We aren't. We never do. I don't go outside. Starting right about now, I won't go outside from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I won't do anything outside. Unless I have to, like softball or cover a baseball series or something. But other than that, if I'm working out, if I'm I don't do a lot of outdoor activities anyway. But if I'm working on my car, I bring it into the garage now, Aslan. I got the fans going.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. What a difference it makes. So I've got like a big old oak tree that provides shade over my house and my driveway. But when I go and visit the lady in Jacksonville, it's just pure pavement. And every single time we went out last weekend and got into it was just instantaneous cooking. Not fun, but anyhow, it's part of Florida. It's like 9 degrees in Boston half the year, so
right. We'll take this. But the next 3 months for us are like the winter months in Chicago.
Yeah, amen.
But we deal with it.
Currently, as we sit here and record this show for you, we're going to do a mailback show maybe for Thursday. I don't know if I'll be around to record Thursday for Friday, Corey, but that's a conversation we should probably have offline.
Right.
What's this? How does this golf thing work? So the ladies knocked off Southern Cal? And then they turned
Northern Cal. They got Southern Cal.
They turned around and play a semifinal after that?
Yeah, that's how it works. I don't know. Clearly you didn't remember the last year with the men did the same thing. They won the quarterfinal round and then won the semifinal round on the same day and then played Auburn for the national championship the next day and lost.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it is. 36 holes. At least it's like I think Carlsbad is Northern California, I'm going to guess. So probably and I saw some of the images from out there earlier in the week, and it looked like they were wearing long sleeves. So
okay.
I think it's pretty moderate temperatures, which is nice. But either way, yeah. So they
it is
just
not.
To recap,
It is south of Los Angeles, north of San Diego.
Oh, well, still, it must have been decent temperatures then. Yeah. Probably not Tallahassee heat there. But so I know you guys aren't dialed in. I'll run it down real quick. Florida State, I think, won its regional a couple weeks ago to advance to nationals. We've gone over this, but like the top 5 teams in all 6 regionals advanced to nationals. Florida State women did that. Then so there's 30 teams out at nationals in Carlsbad, California. They've been out there for a week. They play a stroke play for the first 4 days. After 3 days, they cut it down to the top 15. Florida State was well within that cut line. On Sunday, maybe Monday. On Monday, they cut it down. Monday they cut it down to the final 8. So the final 8 get to go to match play. Florida State finished 4th. Out of the 30, they finished 4th. So they're the 4 seed going to match play. They played the 5 seed. Only 8 teams qualified out of the 30 that were out there. Florida State easily qualified. So they were the 4 seed playing 5 seed USC in the first match on Tuesday. Beat them 3-1, I think. And then had to turn around a couple hours later and play Stanford, ACC conference mate. And Stanford is easily the number 1 team in the country. They were winning the stroke play, Aslan. So it was 4 rounds. They were 27 under par through 4 rounds. The second place team, Oregon, was -6. So if it was just straight stroke play for the national championship, Florida State would have no chance. They were 30 shots behind Stanford going after 4 rounds. So they weren't going to win the – but what it does is –
with after 2 of the best amateur golfers in the world, and we were still that behind?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's all those other players matter. And, again, match play is different, though, man. Match play is different. So, I think Mirabelle lost her match play at the ACC, or maybe Lottie did, at the ACC the championships. But I wanted to point out, as we talk about this way too long already, Stanford is easily the number 1 team in the country. But when the last time they were in match play was at the ACC championships, they lost to Wake Forest, and then Florida State beat Wake Forest to win the ACC championship. So as dominant as Stanford is in stroke play, which they won every tournament they were in by huge margins. In match play, maybe they're gettable. They're certainly more gettable than they were in stroke play when they had a 30-shot lead. So as you're listening to this, that will have already been decided. Hopefully your Noles won. But if they didn't, a top 4 finish is pretty dang. A top 4 finish and the school's first ever ACC championship is pretty sweet. And I think you mentioned that Mirabelle Ting and Lottie Woad are legitimate. Mirabelle Ting, I think, won the Collegiate Golfer of the Year award the day after Luke Clanton won the Men's College Golfer of the Year award. So that's pretty cool. But Florida State has the 2 top women's amateur golfers in the world by almost every metric on their team. And if you finish in the top 4 and win an ACC championship for the first time in school history, no matter what happened against Stanford in that tournament, or if they beat Stanford and then lose in the national championship match, it's not like you squandered anything. You did really well. Top 4 finish in the nation, and then also an ACC championship is really well done. So just credit to Amy Bond and that whole program over there, and hopefully Mirabelle and Lottie will come back.
I meant to mention this 2 weeks ago. I actually went out to Seminole Legacy Golf Course to grab some interviews with Trey Jones and the guys. Have you been to that course?
Yeah, I have. A couple years ago, maybe, sure.
It is immaculate.
It's great.
It's
one of the better ones in the country, right, for college golf?
Yeah. I mean, it's – now I get it. Like, when I saw the prices, I was like, this is outlandish. But it's like a PGA quality course. It's gorgeous. And they
need to have a PGA Tour event there.
Well, easier said than done.
Come on, make it happen. Make it happen. It could be the week after the Players' Championship.
Usually,
just coming down I-10 and come play in Tallahassee.
Usually, whenever the Open's going on over in England somewhere, or Great Britain, I guess I should say, that's like your opportunity to steal a tournament. Jackson, Mississippi had a tournament that would run concurrent to the British Open.
Screw that. Nobody wants to see those golfers. I want to see the best in the world.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
But yeah, so hopefully the football stadium, which is getting a lot of guff for catering to rich people, will be as beautiful as that golf course is. And no reason to think it won't be. Maybe we'll do a live show from Doak once it's finally.
That might be a reason they're so good at golf, men's and women's. Maybe that's a nice recruiting tool, is to have such a great golf course.
Oh, Corey Clark. Corey Clark, is he a facility guy now?
For that sport, absolutely. I think that matters. I think for that sport it would matter. Just like you would think for swimming. I think they have a really good – Morecambe is a really
correct.
A nice swimming facility, but that hasn't really paid off in any substantial accomplishments in that sport. But whatever. We can't be great at everything.
Mike Norvell, big fan of this football-only facility being ready July-ish, I guess. Thinks that it is going to be a big deal, especially in a projected post-house landscape where there'll be more level spending. It is going to be crucial to have these kind of toys. Yeah. So maybe it wasn't a bad idea to not throw all that money at players.
He's probably right, and I was thinking about that because I saw that. I saw his quotes about that, and then also just thinking about it logically. And I brought this up before, but the reason I thought Miami could never get back is because they were so behind in facilities. Well, if you're willing to spend $4 million on quarterbacks, you can get back in there real quick. But when I was saying all that stuff that I don't think Miami would ever be back, I don't think I was wrong because I didn't foresee this kind of landscape shaping up where you could go pay for a roster. And if you have enough money, you can be really competitive and you can be nationally competitive. And I think Miami was that last year, even though, of course, they didn't even get to Charlotte because why would they? But you could say they were one of the 15 best teams in the country. But absolutely, I think that's why Miami is all in right now. Mm-hmm. Because if it goes back to everybody's back kind of on the same playing field, 10 years ago, it was basically you got books. You got a scholarship. And when everybody was on the same playing field from 2003 to 2022, Miami sucked. Straight up average. Nothing special. Nothing great. No ACC championships. These last couple of years when you can go buy a roster, well, yeah, you can get competitive again real quick. But if it levels out again where everybody's on that same playing field and Miami has zero facilities and their stadium is 45 minutes away and their students only show up for one game every 2 years, their whole fan base does, I foresee them going right back to mediocrity. Are really, really cheating. Those are their only two options. Because how could they, Aslan, if you're going to get paid $150,000, if you're a cornerback and you're in Florida State, any position, Florida State's offering you $150,000, or that's what you're slated to make, and you go to Miami's campus or go to a Miami football game when they're playing Virginia, and there's 11,000 people there, and then you go to Tallahassee and not only see the new stadium, but see that facility, man. And everything's equal as far as the payment, I don't know how Miami competes with that. So they are very, very smart. Before this thing gets passed, if it gets passed, they are very smart to go all in. This might be their tiny little window to really try to make a run at something.
I know this isn't the way the math works, but FanDuel released the over-unders. I don't know if we talked about this a while ago, but now they got all the over-unders for the ACC. Florida State, 7.5.
Yeah.
Kind of top quadrant, top quarter of the conference, top third of the conference. 7.5 over under. They got 2 FCS games.
Yeah.
And then they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games against teams with lesser number total for their over under. So explain that to me.
Yeah, man, I think that's I think the over is a good bet. I wouldn't push it. I wouldn't prop that thing up to plus 8.5 or plus 9.5. The over/under, you can do that. You can finagle the spreads and make more money that way. But no, I think 7.5 is a really good number because if we talked about if they go under, that means they essentially went 5-5. And the issue is there are 4 semi-hard to really hard games as we look at it now in May. I don't know what Florida will be at the end of the year.
What about these teams that are underneath them? They're so they're 7.5. Florida State, NC State, Virginia Tech are at 6.5. Pitt and Syracuse at 5.5. Wake Forest 4.5, second worst in the conference. Stanford 3.5, worst in the conference.
I think you look at like NC State on the road. NC State and I don't know. You might have a little more talent, maybe a significant more. I don't know. I feel like NC State's always pretty good. They're decent. And that's a road game. That's hard. So I think that
plays right.
Yeah, I think look, man, you're not going to beat Alabama, Clemson, Miami, and Florida. You're not going to beat all of them.
Says who?
Maybe you could. Going into it, if you're looking to make put the number, you're not going to beat all those teams. So you assume you go 1-3, and then there might be another loss in there. I mean, look, man, they finished dead last in the conference last year, dead last below California. So it's hard to look at anything as an automatic win anymore. But there's a lot of winnable games. It's just they're all losable too, which is the problem. But I think 7.5 is the right number.
Yeah, I guess
because of those two really easy games. I think if one of those was if it was Notre Dame instead of Kent State, it's a 6.5.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think so. I think that's why it's 7.5 is because they go in knowing that you're 2-0.
Well, it feels like Stanford at 3.5, Wake at 4.5. That puts you at 4, and then Pitt's 5.5. I don't know. Pitt's got their whole offense pretty much coming back. Except for one receiver.
It really struggled there at the end of the year. That kid is awesome, though. Is that kid back? Their running back?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's from Miami,
he's
too, I
really
think.
Good.
He's from somewhere in Florida.
Yeah.
He's not from. He might be from Orlando.
He was one of the best players in the conference. He's really good.
Yeah. Miami, SMU, 8.5 in front of Florida State. Louisville as well, and then Clemson atop with 9.5.
Yeah. Okay. Even that, I think they open with Georgia, right?
Yes.
Who are they thinking their other loss is? That's just I feel like 2 more losses, right?
I'm sorry, they opened up with LSU, not Georgia.
That's what I meant. Yeah, well, that's definitely a winnable game.
Yeah.
They should win that game, actually. That seems like a low number.
They got to walk into Chapel Hill, though, and take on Bill Belichick.
What are their other non-conference games?
Furman, South Carolina, and Troy.
South Carolina will be tough. I think to me, that seems like an easy over bet.
It's in Columbia, too. Well, they got to go at Louisville, and they also host SMU. So, I know they beat SMU last year, but that could be tricky. And then at Louisville is probably going to be pretty tricky. And
guys,
that's back-to-back.
Listen to me, and I know you guys love our gambling talk. Parlay Florida State plus 7.5, Clemson plus 9.5, and then just watch the money roll over you. It's just you're gonna be showered in it like Indecent Proposal. You're just gonna be bathing in money, or Scrooge McDuck, whatever reference you want to use. You're gonna be bathing in money on your mattress.
Would you have been more? How would you have treated the discourse, the narrative, in August or July? Let's just make it May of 2022, that they're going to win 10 games. How would you have handled somebody speaking about it in really confident terms versus the way somebody would talk about this team doing it right now? Like, if I was sold and kept pushing back on you, listen, man, 10 wins is the number. It's very manageable. Do you think you would...
Well, really 9 wins, though, right? If we're just going by regular seison wins. You know what I mean? If we're using the
2022 season.
over-under.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
But even then, you're going to go from 5-7 to 9-3, knowing that,
that was a pretty legit 9-3 too. I know you can talk about that North Carolina, if they got a kicker, maybe they're 10-2, but it all kind of evened out.
But 9-3, when you start the season with LSU, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
Or I guess they had Duquesne, then LSU.
Right.
But you have LSU on your schedule, at Florida, at Clemson, and at NC State, and Miami at home, and you assume 9-3. Yeah, I would have pushed back on the confidence. And if anybody's listened to this show forever, I don't take a lot of stands. I love to couch and I love to qualify everything. I would have just been they can. If things go well, they could go 9-3, but they'd have to go well. And then there's also a chance they could go 6-6, and I wouldn't have been all that confident, because we didn't know what Trey Benson was, we didn't know what Johnny and Micah Pittman were, and most importantly, had no idea Jordan Travis was going to take that kind of jump. So yeah, I would have pushed back on that a little bit, but I wouldn't have been aggressive about it, because it is college football, and things change drastically from year to year, and we really didn't have a handle on Jordan Travis. I thought he was better than most other people did.
You did, correct.
But I did, and I'm not trying to pat my own back.
You should. No, you do. Go ahead. You should.
No. But the way they won and the way they moved the ball when he was in the game versus when every other quarterback was in the game, the fact that the reason they lost at Florida was because he missed 3 pivotal drives, one of which ended with a crazy McKenzie Milton turnover, And he still almost brought him back, and they lost by 3 points. Because, and Anthony Richardson decided to be good, which sucked. But after what's-his-name kept throwing picks, I don't remember. Who was it? Emory Jones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yikes. So I thought Jordan Travis was better than most, but I'm not going to sit here and say I thought he would turn into that, because I thought he was better than most because of the athleticism he gave you. And he was an okay passer and a great athlete. Well, it turned out he was a great passer, field general, thinker, although he was a very, very good athlete, he hardly ever used his athleticism. So that I wouldn't have thought it would play out like that. But, yeah, I would have pushed back a little bit. But that was coming from a 5-win team that also really – that was a bowl team, man. That was a 6-6 team that screwed itself against Jacksonville State and also played really well at the second half of the season, I thought, especially compared to the first 4 games. I mean, they won 5 of their last 8. Should have been 6 of their last 8. Or could have been if Jordan would have stayed healthy. Jordan missed one of the other games they lost. So I thought they were trending in the right direction. You can't even say they're trending at all now because we don't know what this team is. There's no trend to look. There's no trend to try to monitor because the whole offense is new. So we know it'll be higher than it was, but there's no way to take anything from last year and put any kind of positive spin on what happened last year as we roll into this year, other than all those guys are gone.
Yeah. See, again, 23, you went into that season knowing that you pretty much had a significant talent advantage over everybody on your roster other than maybe your opener. On your schedule, yeah. Over everybody other than, maybe – I thought even LSU. I really did. Significant. I mean, not to the level of Wake Forest, but significant.
When you look at that now, though.
Yeah, I mean, the Heisman winner, yeah. But that defense –
the Heisman winner,
that defense is problematic.
They had 2 top 10 wide receivers and a number 1 pick at left tackle.
That's true.
I mean, you didn't have more talent than them. You were coached beher than they were. Well, you had more talent on defense.
Yeah.
But you were coached better than them, too.
Yeah. But then the rest of the way in 23, I think maybe I should have reversed that and said that you were more talented than Clemson by a large degree versus what you were against LSU. That game was a little choppy, almost got away from you, but it didn't because you had poise and leadership everywhere. But otherwise, you walked onto to the field every Saturday, Friday, whatever days they played games. You're like, all right, man, they are far and away better than the team they're lining up against. If they just don't get in their own way, coaching staff, whatever, they'll be fine. And they never did that. Looking at the 2022 schedule, coming out of that bye week, you had Georgia Tech, interim coach, Miami, first-year coach, Syracuse, whatever, Louisiana, first-year coach, Florida, first-year coach, Oklahoma, opt-outs galore, but we don't have to worry about that. So Georgia Tech, interim coach, Miami, first-year coach, Syracuse, whatever, Louisiana, first-year coach, Florida, first-year coach. You look at the schedule this year coming out of that bye after Stanford. Well, before that bye is Stanford, first-year coach, only-year coach. Then you got the off week. You got Wake Forest, first-year coach. Virginia Tech might be on an interim coach by that point. NC State, who knows? I mean, I don't know what really their expectations are, but who knows if they'd be tired of Dave Dorn if they're not in a good place by that spot. And then you got obviously Florida on the road. So there's some stuff I think there where, yeah, these are some tough matchups. Obviously going at Clemson, at NC State on a Friday night. But when you think about where some of these programs are in their journeys and their climbs, Virginia with Tony Elliott, I don't really think they have an idea of where they stand with him or where he stands with that program and where he can take them. We'll see if Chandler Morse, if he finally has a proven quarterback, maybe that changes things. But there's some stuff there if you really want to squint and be crazy in your group chat and pound your chest. It could be there for 9 wins. But I don't know if I'm there yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Like I said, I wouldn't bump that number up to 8.5 to try to get better odds. Yeah. I'd keep it at 7.5. And I think one thing when you look at 2022, if we want to compare the 2 seasons as we roll into them, as that season went on, yes, Georgia Tech first-year coach or whatever, Miami first-year coach. Also, they were without their starting quarterbacks. Like
True.
Syracuse's quarterback was hurt.
Yeah.
Van Dyke tried to play in 2022, was hurt. I don't
that
know.
That was not even a game.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying
right.
It gives you a lot more confidence when you see Garcia. What was that kid's name? Was it Garcia? The
Jake
backup
Garcia?
Yeah, rolling out there than if a healthy Van Dyke is out there.
No, it was the kid from Colquitt. I forget his name. Was it Jakuri? No, that was.
It was Brown, and then also Garcia. They both kind of interchanged. Van Dyke too. Brown's the one that Jamie Robinson threw down like a rag doll.
Took a soul.
So, that was a great moment in that rivalry history. So I think that matters too. Obviously, coaching matters and the head coach matters, but quarterback play matters too. And the one benefit of this schedule is, and I'm not going to count. I guess we can't count Miami. It is a first-year quarterback at Miami, but it's a guy that started a lot of college football games. But like you look around, most of these teams don't bring back. They have question marks at quarterback. Let's just say
Stanford, I think, lost their quarterback to Auburn. Wake Forest lost their quarterback. I think he might have gone to Texas Tech. I think Virginia Tech still has Drones.
Yeah.
NC State's got C.J. Bailey, who was a freshman last year, 6'6".
Played some, right?
Yeah.
Started a little bit at the end of the year. Yeah.
65% completion percentage, 17 touchdowns, 10 picks.
And you think about last year's team, though. More importantly, more accurately, when you think about last year's team, you started the season starting quarterback, veteran.
Yeah.
Boston College, starting quarterback. Memphis returned their quarterback. Clemson returned their quarterback. Like, you faced teams that had veteran quarterback presence, and you just got annihilated. Even Notre Dame, there wasn't a guy that had been there forever, but Riley Leonard had played a lot of football.
Yeah.
I think you're getting a break as far as the quarterbacks you're playing. Not necessarily. You had to play Cam Ward. Carson Beck isn't Cam Ward. The best quarterback you'll face is probably the kid at Florida,
Klubnik.
Or Klubnik, yeah. So you've got two or three really good ones you have to deal with, but you get to face. You unlike last year, you might at least be even, or maybe a little better at that position than your opponent, which matters a lot. And I'm not sitting here saying Castellanos is a Heisman candidate or even good, but he's capable and he's a veteran and he might be better. He might be better on August 30th than whoever's on the other sideline. Doesn't mean he's going to play in the NFL in 7 years for the Titans, or he's going to have a career in professional football at all. But on that day, August 30th, Castellanos could be better than the guy they run out there. That was never going to happen last year. DJU wasn't any good when he was there, and then those other two guys had no chance. You were getting, it was a massive blowout at that position almost every week. That won't be the case this year. Maybe against Clemson, maybe against Florida, if Klubnik keeps trending that way, and then that kid is as good as people hope he is, in that fan base anyway, then maybe. But otherwise, you should have an approximation of whoever's on the other sideline.
Memorial Day sales not limited to just mattresses, everybody. The folks over at Ridge having their Memorial Day sale where you can save up to 40% when you visit the website ridge.com/wakeup. Again, ridge.com/wakeup. Save up to 40% off. And I know maybe Memorial Day isn't actually like what you think of, like let me get a new wallet, but maybe Father's Day is for yourself or for your dad. He's going to love it. I can guarantee you that. Shoot, treat yourself to one. Will it change your life? Can't promise you that, but I can tell you it's going to be the last wallet you'll ever own. It comes with a literal lifetime warranty. That's how much they believe in their products. We believe in it too. They do like 2 sales a year, and then they're like, hey, can you help us spread the word? We're like, yeah, we have your wallets, and they're awesome. Also got their keychain. That's for a whole nother story. But check it out. Ridge.com/wakeup. Save up to 40% off and maybe get a step ahead of your Father's Day shopping. Again, Ridge.com/wakeup. We're back. It is Wake Up Warchant. It is presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it, take it. Just to double back real quick, Corey. And listen, we obviously have the benefit of hindsight here, but how would you assess, in hindsight, the way you thought about DJ Uiagalelei and the Mike Norvell marriage, coming off, obviously, what Mike had done in 2023? You give him so much deference, rightfully so. I do as well. You know, DJ looked okay, and Corvallis seemed to maybe take a step back in level of competition or stress and was able to play fairly good for the Beavers. So you're like, okay, that's what he was. Put the magic sauce on him and Mike the Portal King, and then this is what you're going to end up having. Versus the way you treat, I guess, Tommy quitting on his team or leaving the program, Boston College midway through his season, but with the Gus Malzahn magic on top of it. I know we feel really good about Gus and Tommy, but did we maybe think as highly of the DJ Mike Norvell marriage as we do right now about Tommy and Gus?
Yeah, there's some similarities. I would think, again, and so much of it, again, not to give us a pass, but I thought they'd have a running game. And I also thought he would run. I brought it up constantly in the offseason last year, all the first downs he ran for.
Just some third and shorts, right? Like, you're not talking about scrambling around and doing crazy stuff, but just
threes, he can pick those up. Yeah. But he had run for something like 32 first downs the year before. And he didn't have crazy rushing numbers. He ran for like 400 yards or 300 yards. I think his last year at Clemson, he ran for over 500 yards. Well, those are real numbers. That's like 40 yards a game. Did he run for 40 yards all season? So when he got hurt and couldn't move, that absolutely derailed the offense. But the offense was going to be derailed anyway. I don't want to blame it on just an August injury that we didn't even really know was as severe as apparently it was. But I thought they'd be able to run the ball. With his help, I thought they'd be able to run the ball, and that colored my expectations completely. When they couldn't run the ball, when you can't run the ball, it stops everything. They weren't good enough at wide receiver, and they weren't good enough at quarterback. And as I kept saying, I thought he would be good enough to make them a capable offense. He wasn't, but I almost don't want to blame him too much because I just think it was the collection of talent around him that we had no idea the offensive line was going to perform like that. We had no idea that, Lucas and Roydell Williams getting hurt didn't help, but they weren't, that's not Dalvin and Warwick Dunn. But that didn't help. But then him not being able to run it crushed everything. And so I think so. Yes, I was obviously wrong on DJ, the Norvell DJ marriage. I don't think I'm wrong on Castellanos Gus. I just think there's more in the resume there with Gus and quarterbacks like this. So I give him the benefit of the doubt. I would never do that with Norvell again. But I think Gus has earned the benefit of the doubt with the quarterbacks he's had over the years and how they've always produced a good running game. He's usually had really good athletes. You guys all remember Nick Marshall at Auburn. He had Plumlee, who was an exceptional athlete at UCF that really opened up that running game too. He's done it with guys like this before. And the fact that this is who he wanted in the portal, I just think that I feel like he's going to make it work with him. But I don't expect stellar play all year from that position. I just expect a solid to good running game. And then you can do things off of that, especially if your receivers are good.
Are you writing better stuff now than you did the last month when you were at the Gwinnett Daily Journal?
Gwinnett Daily Post, Aslan.
Gwinnett Daily Post?
Get it right.
Because I'm trying to think, whatever, the way it ended in Boston, obviously not ideal. I'm sure from afar, a lot of people are looking at Florida State, again, picking up a guy that, left the program midseason, not a great thing. But you do think about this kid, his dream was always play at Florida State, and now he does have this opportunity. Still, bad look, but maybe like the new scenery could mean more to him than maybe any other singular player on this roster because fulfilling that dream, being the guy here in an offense that seems to cater around your skill set, that could help quell any of the perceived real or fake, character flaws that he might possess.
Yeah, man, I told you that back in January and February. I talked about that. Like, that was a huge deal, the way his teammates and coaches talked about him. Because that is a red flag, man. Nobody can deny it. And I don't know how many huge Tommy Castellanos fans there are listening to this. I doubt there are many because y'all don't have really a connection with him yet. But I'm allowed to criticize the fact that he left his team with 2 games left. And I did at the time, and I brought that up as a red flag when Castellanos was on his visit to Florida State. Like, okay, what kind of person, what kind of player leaves his team like that when he gets benched? Doesn't just take the demotion and still show up to practice and in the games. He leaves the program. That is not a great look, and that was a concern. Maybe it still should be, and maybe I'm being Pollyanna about it, but just immediately how much he embraced Florida State and seemingly has been an incredible teammate. All the coaches and all the team, and I don't think that's just coach speak and teammate speak. You'll ask some teammates, hey, what's this guy like? Oh, good guy. And deep down he's like, oh, he hates that kid. That's not with it. Tommy does seem to have a vibrant personality, a magnetic personality. And I don't know what happened at Boston College. I don't know how that relationship ended with O'Brien. So it's not fair to necessarily judge it, other than to say it's a horrible look. It doesn't mean he wasn't right. O'Brien might have told him to leave. We don't know. But I do know that the way they talk about him fills me with hope that he is not the guy that you would think would be the type of person that would do that. So, at any rate, I don't think there are any, on my end anyway, there aren't really any character concerns at all because of how these last 5 months have gone. He was recruiting kids immediately. He was trying to meet every player on the team and have like real talks with them, like trying to be a leader. And I don't think that's fake. I think that's who he is. And if you watched him play at Boston College, especially his first year, he did seem to have a lot of joy and a lot of smiles, and they did like him and play for him. I just think it was such a horrible marriage for him in 2024 that it became toxic. But it doesn't seem to be toxic at all here.
And I would hope, I think.
But you're also right, real quick, because you said that, the fact that he's playing at a Florida school, playing for one of his dream schools, for Gus Malzahn again. Yeah. Buddy, you've got a second lease on your college career. Who wouldn't want to embrace this? Who isn't going to bust their butt every day and try to be awesome when you go from third string at UCF to really you started out as second string at BC, become the best player on the team, and then get benched all in the span of 24 months. And now you're at Florida State, getting to play Alabama in week 1. That's a pretty cool journey you've taken if you take advantage of it.
Yeah, I just wonder, you were with Gus in Orlando, but he had Plumlee in 23, so you don't want to sit behind him. But, things were kind of laid there. They had a path to start in 2024, but I don't know how that conversation went. And if Gus was like, yeah, man, I'm not going to start you. The portal's a thing. Give it a shot. We can run this thing back. If it doesn't work out, you're always welcome back here. Maybe there's a very, obviously it had to be relatively amiable for him to join forces back down here in Florida State. But I do wonder if one of these things that we've heard Mike now at some of these booster meetings kind of talking about what's different now with Gus. I think somebody was asking him in Tampa, what's different? What is Gus taking off your plate? And he just talked about how there's just so much stuff involved in establishing, maintaining relationships with players. Listen to me. These guys got so much stuff coming at them in terms of NIL and all these money opportunities. And that is on their mind, but you're also trying to get through a practice and address it at a later time. And you're on to snap number 45 of your 7-on-7 period or whatever. Not that number, but I'm talking about, everybody. So the fact that this really feels like this could be Mike, Mike's whole thing is this holistic esoteric approach, right? Just about pouring everything he can to these players, loving on them, respect, showing them what's it like to be a man. Just feels like not only does Tommy have a quarterback coach in Tony Tokars, an offensive coordinator, play caller, and Gus Malzahn, he's got something different with Mike Norvell than maybe some of these other quarterbacks at a lot of these other programs where I think Mike can just be whatever gaps need to be filled when it comes to his mental preparation or just emotional state. Having someone like Mike who fairly wired right when it comes to knowing how to push buttons with these kids when he doesn't have to worry about all the other fires going on around him. So maybe that's another thing that we're not fully taking into account, that Mike's hands-off approach in terms of calling plays, that's a bonus because you got Gus calling the plays, but you also have Mike as this guidance counselor almost, if you will, kind of ace in your pocket.
Yeah, look,
that's not what you're paying him $10 million for, but, we've got to make the best of the situation.
That's fine. You're paying him $10 million to win, and if he can win, if this is what it takes for him to get back on track, then, yeah, man, it's a part of the job. So, it's hard to speculate what any of that matters or means right now, and the fact of the matter is if they go 5-7 this year, or maybe even 6-6, he probably won't be the head coach here next year. So
I know, but you got to keep this kid engaged, right? The Alabama game is important for so many reasons.
Talking about Tommy?
Yeah.
I don't think he would be unengaged. I just don't think that.
No, but he could get down on himself, maybe, right? I came here.
Sure, but then say you lose to Alabama 40-8 and it's ugly and awful. Well, he'll be feeling okay about himself by the time he gets to Virginia because they'll be 2-1 and have just scored 100 points in 2 games.
I know, but this fan base, he's not going to get a lot of nice tweets.
Doesn't matter. You don't deserve nice tweets yet. You haven't done anything for it. So, yeah, I see what you're saying, but hopefully, I mean, why am I smart enough, and I'm a stupid journalist, podcast host, to not look at my mentions? Why can't these guys that are actually public-facing in really big deals and the starting quarterback at a university like Florida State, don't look at your effing mentions, man. Just go live your life. Yeah. You know, if Charlie Ward had Twitter back in 1992, he would have quit the sport. Well, that's not true. He had some mental makeup. He probably would have fought through it. But imagine all the tweets he would have gotten. Or Chris Weinke throwing 6 interceptions in his second ever start. Both those guys won Heismans. You know, they both had 8 interceptions after their first 2 starts of their careers, and they both won Heismans. If Twitter had been around back then, who knows how that would have affected it. Probably wouldn't have been great. But these guys, I don't understand. I'm back on the Jimbo train. Ban Twitter, man. Like, you're not even allowed to have an account. Like, it makes no sense to subject yourself to that because it is bad for your mental health. Because people do say stupid things all the time. They say things to get a reaction. They're cruel, but they're cruel behind the anonymity of a phone or a keyboard. They would never say that stuff to you at Bulls or Pots. No. But if they could just text it to you because they're mad because they lost a bet or you lost a game for them, they'll say whatever. So I don't even understand why. And they're 20-year-olds just aren't. But they're not mature like me, Aslan, where I just ignore it completely. But I wish they would be, because it would make sense to just ignore it completely because I know myself. I'm old enough to know myself and know that I don't handle, not even critiques, just like pushback or argumentative tweets back at me. I want to argue right back. Yeah. Like I talked about the other day with the Auburn catcher. Like, why am I even engaging with someone that tells me I should have compassion for him? Yeah. It doesn't even make sense. I shouldn't have done it. But anyway, that's me. Yeah. By the way, before I forget, because we didn't talk about it on the last show, but we're talking about football. We're sort of talking about the running game. We never talked about Micahi Danzy.
We did not.
Obviously, you folks know Micahi Danzy is a receiver/running back on the football team. He's very, very fast. He set a school record and an ACC record at the ACC meet this past weekend. He won the 400-meter with a time of 44:38, which I think might be a freshman record, like maybe a freshman NCAA record, I mean. It's a Florida State record. It's an ACC record. It's a championship meet record. I think it might be an NCAA freshman record. But I want to put it in context. So he ran a 44:38. Who knows what any of these means? I'll tell you this. If he'd have run that time in the finals of the 2024 Olympics, he would have finished 6th in the world at 19 years old. And he's not even a full-time sprinter. And he ran a time that would have been 6th at the Olympics against the best in the world. And I think it would have been the second fastest time for an American. So when you're that good, like when you're Olympic level good, like potential world champion good, which I think you would be if you're putting up these kind of times this early in your career, this might be it for him on a football field. Right?
I was going to say, like, if they've got 3 losses by Veterans Day, do you tell that kid, like, hey, man, like, we appreciate you, but go?
Well, especially if he's not playing.
Yeah.
Like, if he's not even getting in there for the wheel routes. If he's just not playing, if he's not a part of the offense, I mean, again, I don't know how much money is in pro track for a guy that, you know, I don't think I know the Olympics aren't for another 3 years. I don't know how much money is there. I don't know how much NIL money is in track. But it would, if he does, I guess my point is, if he doesn't kind of burst onto the scene this year and really kind of make a name for himself, it's going to be hard to get him back for 2026 just because apparently he is an absolute phenom at track. Mm-hmm. Like, again, I'm telling you, that's the fastest any freshman has ever run in college track history. It's the fastest anyone in the ACC's ever run. It would have finished 6th in the Olympics. He's 19 years old. That doesn't even do this full time. He might be an Olympic champion, like 2-time Olympic champion. So it'll be interesting how his career. It's not quite the same as like B.J. Gibson. Like, B.J. can still be a really good football player. He's not doing enough on the baseball field to have to pick right now. Danzy is so good at track, so unbelievably accomplished this early in his career that you wonder where his football will end up going. But he did tweet that he'll be on the football field this fall. So at least the Noles will have him for one more year.
Yeah, he's speaking into existence like a kick return. He wants to be the first person to score like a touchdown in the 2025 season. Although I think there's a week 0 game, so he wouldn't be. But you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. I hope he. I don't know if he's going to be returning kicks.
Yeah. Why not? Might as well.
Yeah, he should.
Figure out what.
Why is it got to be a kickoff, Danzy? Maybe they don't score. How are they going to kick off if the Noles shut out Alabama?
Touche.
I guess it'd have to be the kickoff for one of the halves. That's it.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, cptallybar.com, the website. Hope you enjoyed trivia last night, everybody. I know Corey did. Come on out Thursday, play some bingo. You'll have 4 different opportunities for a chance at $250 in cash. Cash money, everybody. I don't know if you can pick your denominations, but they're going to give you cash if you win one of the rounds of bingo. Daily lunch specials from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Daily drink specials as well. Sundays, happy hour all day long. Gotta love it. 40 different TVs, darts, pool, a jukebox you can select, maybe some live music over the weekend. Everything you could possibly want from your favorite bar. If Norm, was his name Norm Peterson? R.I.P. George White?
On the show he was, yeah.
If he lived in Tallahassee, where would he be going to, Corey?
Oh, he'd absolutely be going to Cheers. Absolutely. You know, that's a really poignant end, the final episode of Cheers, when it's just him and Sam Malone.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you think about these people that own like a Bill Hayes that owns an establishment that means so much to so many people, and it's like a hangout, like a community place, a communal place, like Corner Pocket. It must fill you with pride that so many people met, became friends, had great moments of their lives at your establishment. Yeah. And that's what Corner Pocket's all about. So when you're there this weekend watching the Noles take down Stanford, not at Stanford. She used to be at Stanford.
Yeah, Texas Tech.
By the way, shouldn't the animals sing "Oh Kennedy"? Like the top of the 4th inning, just sing "Oh Kennedy" to her. I think that would be funny. Those are the memories, folks. Yeah. You want to be if you can't get to the game for Alabama on August 30th, you go to Corner Pocket, get in those ACs, and watch the Noles pull off a big win. That's a great place to be with Noles, watching the Noles win things.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Last segment of the day. We'll do a mailbag at some point this week. Get involved, warchant.com, Tribal Council. Generating discussion sparked by Cummins. You can win a free gift bag from Cummins with merch, portable battery, hats, T-shirts, and then obviously an entry into the end-of-year grand prize drawing for a portable generator. Also, they're going to give you a portable power station, too. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Get involved. Shockingly, Nick Saban shoots down possibility of taking over Lee Corso's mascot head tradition on game day. People thought that might happen.
And keeps shooting down the czar, wanting to be the czar of the college football, or the head of the commission, or whatever he keeps saying he doesn't want to do.
Yeah. Good segue into the last topic of the day, Corey. Our own Irish O'Fell column entitled, "This Proposed College Sports Commission Might Be Our Only Hope." Really good read. The first 4 graphs, painful. It just lays out all the times Florida State's been hosed by the NCAA and or ESPN and the College Football Committee. But it's definitely worth reading because it does feel like this is like the last shot. Apparently, the rumor is all these conference commissioners will cede power to a central CEO. All the teams involved in these conferences will agree to abide by the rules. If they do not, they will sort of then be quasi-blackballed and not welcomed into playing and scheduling other teams that are part of this. Now, apparently, I think Tennessee, Vanderbilt, 2 schools that might not want to go along with this because they're at the forefront of apparently pushing back at every single turn about guardrails being put up.
Well, it's the state of Tennessee has made it illegal for the NCAA. I think New Jersey just did it on Tuesday, too, for the NCAA to limit the earning power of any amateur or any college athlete. And Tennessee has done that too, which theoretically is very good for Tennessee and Vanderbilt because that means they will be able to pay more. The problem is, couldn't the SEC just say, look, you either abide by our rules or you're not in the conference anymore. And good luck getting anyone to play for you if you're playing Army and Navy every week.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't that hard. Okay, so the courts have one thing. I again, man, I don't even want to get into the player. I'm all for players getting paid something, something of market value, whatever that is deemed to be. But to save the sport, there has to be some compromise.
The industry, people, not the sport, man. The industry, all of college sports,
right? It's unbelievable that who's going to sue? Great, go sue the NCAA. Say that it's unlawful, it's unconstitutional. You should be allowed to make as much money as you want. Great. In the meantime, you're not a volunteer, and you're not a Commodore, and you don't get to go play sports. So sue all you want, and let's see how long that takes the courts. Even if they say, yeah, it's unconstitutional, the SEC can then say, yeah, but it's our rule. So if you don't like it, go play in another conference. And then if the Big Ten says, yeah, if you don't like it, go play in another conference as well, what conference are they going to? What country are they going to go play college football in? Like, I don't feel like if we just let the courts dictate this, the sport is over. It's that dire, and I legitimately mean that. If there are no guardrails in place, this sport is done. So and you're right. It's not just this sport. It's college athletics are over. And college athletics, not only being my livelihood and your livelihood, it's been great to so many people, and it means so much to so many people. And I don't want some judge in California or some judge in Tennessee or New Jersey eradicating that. So sorry, man. Sorry. Like, why does the NFL why is the NFL allowed to have a salary cap?
Because they collectively bargain and they sign
right,
it.
But is that constitutional or not? Like, I don't care. These kids are 18 years old.
I think does NFL have an antitrust exemption? They might have an antitrust exemption.
They may be. So anyway, I'm just saying, yeah, man, is it fair? I don't know. There's no constitutional right that you get to go play college athletics. So if you want to play college athletics in the SEC or the ACC, then you have to abide by their rules. Sorry, man. Why not sue and say it's not fair that I got an 11 on my SAT and I'm not eligible to play sports? I mean, why do I have to go to JUCO because I failed out of high school? That's not fair.
Well,
because there are rules in place.
Yeah.
Well, this is the new rule. You can't make $4 million as a high school senior going to play college football. You just can't. They're like the conferences. It would be awesome to have a czar. If these conferences don't, because the problem is, Aslan, these conferences will say this. They want this. They're all aboard. They're all in. I think all of them. Dellinger reported that they've all signed off on like a penalty plan too, like a
enforcement policy,
an enforcement arm that they've all signed off on. But as soon as it gets put into place, half of these schools will start looking for ways to circumvent it, and that's the problem.
Well, that's the way it was. And then you need to be able to step up and find evidence and be like, yeah, man, they paid this kid X amount. Like, I don't want to promote ratting on people and snitching, but like,
I do. Absolutely.
Yeah, man, that's the way it was. Like, yeah,
I'm all about snitching.
Yeah, you could do that stuff, but you also, listen, Ole Miss did it. Ole Miss threw gobs of money at guys like Laramie Tunsil and Laquan Treadwell, and then they got in trouble. Like, there was that one booster went rogue, the whole Laramie Tunsil draft day gas masks thing fiasco. There was all these text messages about him going to this one guy asking for more money for his mom, bomb. And then that's what got them put on probation. And that's why Hugh Freeze pretty much left. And well, that was the hooker in the burner film. But that's why, the guy before Lane Kiffin, Matt Luke, who's now the offensive line coach of Clemson, didn't have a full deck. He didn't have all the scholarships because they got put on probation. They had sanctions because of that. So
the entire SEC has lived that life. They've all been put on probation, many of them multiple times. That can start again. There needs to be real teeth in enforcement. There needs to be real enforcement. But yeah, man, I just think that if the SEC, including Tennessee, Danny White is their AD, I think Danny White is their
correct.
AD.
He is.
If he agrees to sign the agreement with all the other SEC teams, that I don't care. Yeah, okay. Let's say Nico sues the NCAA that he should be making more money. All you have to get him to do is to sign a contract to say, I agree to the rules and protocol of the conference I'm in, which is the SEC. And if I break these rules, I am not eligible to play. And if he signs that, then great, sue all you want. What does it matter? Like, you can smoke weed in California. You can't smoke weed in Georgia. There are certain places have different rules, man. And I think that if the SEC and the Big Ten and the ACC and the Big 12 all agree unanimously that this is how we're going to run our sport, then you can go to every judge you want and say, this is unconstitutional, I should be able to make more money. Great, man. What school is going to take you? There aren't any schools to go to except, Navy or Army. I'm trying to think of independents. Notre Dame, I guess.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the Sun Belt. I mean, are those schools going to abide? Maybe Georgia Southern can rise up and just start throwing gobs of money at people.
Troy, Troy can go get some guys. Jacksonville State.
Southern Miss,
ride high. Yeah, go Southern Miss, man. Exactly. They need a new quarterback now that Tate's Western Carolina.
Correct.
So, that's what if they can get that. That gives me hope, actually. If they're so far along that Dellinger is reporting that, I think he said there were 72 schools. So that's all the Power 4 and independents and maybe even the Sun Belt or something. If 72 schools are on board with this, you can go test it all you want in court. There will be nowhere for you to go. If the SEC says if you make more money, if you sue to make more money, you do not get to play in our league, then sue the SEC. Great. Nothing. By the time that lawsuit gets seen and adjudicated, you'll be out of college eligibility, and you'll want to be in the NFL anyway. So I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm all for this House thing going through. All these courts are going to try to challenge it. All these doomsdayers are going to say, "Yeah, you're never going to lose in court." They're going to go to
Jay
court.
Billis
they're going to go to trial.
Losers.
Yeah, they're going to go to trial. This is unconstitutional. Exactly right. Don't care. It's for the sport. It's for the sport, man. And nobody is saying that they can't go make legitimate money on the side, but it needs to be legitimate for the betterment of the sport. Anyway, I hope that happens, and I hope it happens soon, and I hope Miami goes back to being 6-6 every year.
I know we have to go, but I brought this up because the latest saga in this now is going on in Tennessee, where Zakai Ziegler is looking for a 5th year of eligibility just cause.
The point guard, right?
Yeah, he's already played 4 years, but he didn't play 5 years. He wants a 5th year because he didn't use his red shirt. They argue in their brief that red shirts punish skilled players and promote, help players that are lesser than. You're punishing players by not giving them the ability to redshirt, which goes against this is the whole. I hope these are being argued in front of people that understand college athletics, so they realize. And that's the sad thing. Yeah, I mean, no, red shirts are not a good thing necessarily. I mean, you need to get prepared so that you can be ready to play sports. My favorite part was Graph 58. By arbitrarily cutting off market access after 4 of those years to some student athletes and not others, the rule prevents NCAA athletes from realizing their full market value. Arbitrarily.
They just came up with that number.
We've only had freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors in college since God knows how long. So
I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt. File a lawsuit. He would make some money if he was allowed to come back, but it's asinine.
Yeah.
It's asinine. To say because I didn't redshirt, I should be allowed another year is just the stupidest reasoning there's ever been. It's not like, I mean, he played all 4 years.
They're arguing that he's been getting better every single year, and so another 5th year would be his highest earning potential, and you're stripping him of that, as though he is guaranteed to get better in this 5th year,
but
which
not
is
a
preposterous.
6th year. What about a 6th year?
Touche.
I mean,
hopefully they push
grad
back.
school. Go to grad school. Why not play 7 years? Why not play until you're 30 like that Miami tight end?
Well, why not play football 12 on 12 so we can get more players on the field so there's more access to dollars and marketing opportunities for these players? We're limiting the amount of players that can play the sport and try to monetize themselves. Why are we limiting to 11 on 11? Why not do 6 on 6 for basketball?
And 10 on 10 for baseball. I'm all for it. The more the merrier, buddy. The more the merrier. Yeah, it's a crazy spot we're in. I thought Jeff made a really salient point. I listened to some of headlines on the drive down, actually, and he was talking about how, they're college football, if this keeps up, is really in trouble. And he comes at it through the Florida State prism. But it really is hard. I know a lot of diehard Florida State fans that are throwing their arms up at this. And that goes. I'm sure that's going on at every every school in the country.
You're talking about the current situation, not these rules and these commissions.
But the NIL, the
pay for play,
the pay for play, the negotiations, all that, the fact that the boosters and fans are supposed to pay the freight for a roster is just completely asinine. And if you go 6-6 or 2-10, you're not likely to like college football much anymore. It's like getting away from the people that make it great, which in my opinion has always been the fans. The passion of the fans is unlike any other sport in the world. Maybe soccer, maybe Premier League soccer, I don't know. But college football fandom is rabid, especially in this part of the country. And you're turning so many people off. And that has to be attacked. That has to be stopped and quelled. Quelled and attacked are two completely different verb. But what do you guys know what I mean? Like I think that has to be addressed. And because people, they had they had good ratings for some of these playoff games. But as Jeff pointed out, it was also the novelty of the first time they did it.
Yeah.
If it keeps going like this and fans keep feeling like left out or not cared about or asked for more money, it will eventually come crumbling down. I truly believe that. And you don't want just a sport that has 15 teams in it that anybody cares about. So I do like that it's – don't you get the feeling, Aslan, these last 2 months in particular, maybe the last 6 months, the leadership of college football or college athletics in general, whatever you deem that to be, has really started to take this seriously?
Absolutely.
Because they know it's dire. They know it is something that has to be addressed immediately and profoundly. And I even like the Greg Sankey, I think, realizes this is unsustainable. And this has to be fixed. And that's why I think they're so the
greatest coach in the history of this sport, Scott Tread, left on the tires, but he walked away because it's so out of control.
Yeah. Well,
Greg Sankey's listening.
But so I do think that they really do care. I do not think they're just throwing their hands up. I'm glad they're not. They're not just throwing their hands up and saying, oh, well, this is what you guys wanted, deal with it. They are trying to figure out a way. I don't know if they'll get there. I think they will. I don't know how long it will be, but I do think that the best, the most encouraging aspect of all this is that they care and they are trying to fix it, and it does need fixing because this is a broken, stupid system.
DJ,
but hey, Tommy C's here, baby.
That's right.
Tommy C's here. Jamie Arnold's gonna be pitching, and Hauser in a couple weeks. Yeah, man, we got stuff that we're excited about.
Super Regional Softball, Florida State hosting Texas Tech. Game 1 Thursday, 7 o'clock, ESPN2. Game 2 Friday, 3 p.m. ESPN2.
That's going to be a burner.
Yeah, Game
Friday
3.
Oof, yikes.
Yeah. Game 3, if necessary, will be going down on Saturday. We'll talk more about that and baseball in the end-of-week show. RIP Miami losing their first game of the ACC tournament.
Yeah,
to
they kind
Cal.
of they lost it. They got run ruled, and then they kind of like fell apart down the stretch. I think Miami a little bit,
they
as
got
well
hot.
as they were playing in the middle. I mean, they're still going to make the tournament.
Yeah.
Somebody I just watched. I'm watching the Pitt Louisville game, and a guy just hit the bull.
Oh, nice.
A guy for Pitt hit the bull, so he's supposed to win a free steak, and I assume he can. Because it's with all this NIL stuff, that's not an NCAA violation anymore. So I think he just won a free steak.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, that's a wrap for us. Again, one more show this week, Mailbag. Get over to warchant.com, Tribal Council. Solid show for a freaking midweek May podcast.
We brought it. We brought it, baby.
Hit the thumbs up on the way out. He's Corey Maslon. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com.